Hello, hello. Happy Lunchtime Live. I am here out at the tidal linkage, the Tijuana estuary. And if anyone is watching, I would love a sound check. We have a bit of wind today and helicopters. And I'm trying to do my best to have the wind to my back, hoping that I can block some of that noise. I've got the camera on the channel here, and it's tough because there's some birds out here. There's, I believe, a pair of ruddy ducks. That sounds good. Thanks, Anne-Marie. There's a pair of ruddy ducks. So today is Happy World Wetlands Day. It's World Wetlands Day. Wishing everyone a happy World Wetlands Day. It's also, I guess, Groundhog Day. I've opened it up a couple of minutes early to do the sound check and give you guys a little treat of what I'm seeing. Today's program's a little free-flowing. It's also a plug for another event happening at 2 that I'll be part of. A World Wetlands, Wild About Wetlands event, a tour of coastal wetlands in in California, state parks, and I thought I would just come out here to the location where we were last week because the wetland was fairly active, and hopes that it might be again today. See what we can see out here at the tidal linkage, very close to the visitor center. So if you're just tuning in and you're here for Lunchtime Live, thank you for joining us. My name is Maria. I am been bringing these programs since like April, along with Robin. And today we are sort of celebrating World Wetlands Day with what's going on in the wetland. Sort of a free-flowing, let's just kind of check it out, maybe more like the nature cam, wildlife cam, and hopefully I can do some interpreting what's out here. The channel is relatively full. It is a beautiful day out here. I'll just real quick, just so I can say hi, but I'll get back so you guys can see me. Hi, everyone. Sometimes it's nice to have a face, especially if you've never been here before or seen my programs. Welcome. I hope there's some new timers here, as well as some of our regulars. Thank you for joining us. My name is Maria, and I'm here at the Tijuana River National Estuary and Research Reserve, or Tijuana Estuary for short, and it is kind of that partly cloudy day. Hi, Anne. A little windy, lots of helicopters, and it's World Wetlands Day, and it's Groundhog Day. And today's free-flowing program, what's happening in the wetland, is something that I thought I'd try new because we were out here last week talking about the northern harrier, and I was focused on those kites, and just before I got out here there was one of those white-tailed kites or black-shouldered kites, I'm not sure which one it is, out here on that agave again, but it's gone now, so I won't bother pointing it in that direction. But I do want to flip the camera back around, since we are talking about wetlands, to show you today's setting, which is kind of what I briefly focused on last week, because we had a willet just below me. Yesterday's program, I had a pair of ruddy ducks that were just here. It was tough to see because they are in their winter plumage, so the male doesn't have that bright blue beak, but you can see that the water in the channel is relatively calm. Oh, and here we have, sorry to swing around so quickly. Oh, did you see that? A little grebe there. So we're doing a little birding and a little bit of wetland viewing. Thank you, white-tailed. Okay, black-shouldered is now called white-tailed. Very good. I know there's a change there, and I admit I'm not the most avid birder. Out there, these are some common American coots. On the other side of the channel there, you can see they're dabbling. They're looking for some aquatic plant material. I don't know if you guys can see them. And as they just duck their heads under the water for food. So we have, like I said, it's high tide at noon today. Always a little lag in here, so we may see it rise a little during our program. And the sun's starting to come out and getting that nice reflection. You can see I'm just on the other side of what's called the tidal linkage from the visitor center, off trail. This is not an area where visitors can go, but there is trail right on the other side of this channel where you can kind of get the same view. And it's that little eared grebe swimming, I believe it's an eared grebe, swimming, diving under the water, which they're known to do. Excellent swimmers. And the salt marsh looking kind of brown this time of year. That's normal. If you're wondering if the plants are dying, well, they have their sort of their dormancy. They go into the pickleweed is doing a lot of accumulating, storing of salt, turning pink. It was last week, it was really pink, and now it's really like dried up and fallen off. Not quite as green as when we focused on salt marsh plants back in the summer. Now, there was a group of pintail ducks. I don't have any images with me, so you'll have to look these up yourself. We have quite a few pintails, but of course I came out here early, and they went away. They swam away. I was hoping they'd come back, but I believe there is one has come back, and it's the coloring is a little bit different. So here it comes. Maybe some of our more avid birders can help me out. I don't know if I can zoom in. I don't think I can. Zoom in on this one here. Swimming this way. White breast. Pintails are the best duck. Well, I might agree with you only because they're so easy to spot with that really long pin-like tail. Fairly large. And I see right behind it is that, I believe, that female ruddy. I would hope the ruddies would come back. I think one of the last programs we did in early December was on the ruddy duck from this location. Could not make a ruddy duck show up for that one. We used images, but there is one. It would be great to see that tail also is so distinct. So the pintail and the ruddy duck both have those distinct tails, upturned or very thin and upturned, that kind of set them apart, makes them easy to identify. And for those of us, myself included, who aren't the most avid birders and have a hard time, especially with ducks, because they only show up in the fall, winter for the most part. You don't see them all year like you would a willet or a Ridgway's rail, right? All right, so I'm here. Today's World Wetlands Day. If you have any questions related to, this tidal linkage or what's going on in this location right now, please feel free to share. This is also my plug for a program that's happening at 2 p.m. for World Wetlands Day, brought to you by State Parks, touring some of the coastal wetlands in the state of California. And I'll be part of that program. So from 2 to 3, you can log back on. It's going to be shared on our page, as well as broadcasted onto the California State Parks Facebook page and the Ports page, if you are familiar with Ports. But you can find us at the California State Park Facebook page or here at the Tijuana Estuaries page, where we will try to reshare that live stream. And that'll be something really fun. So as we're celebrating World Wetlands Day, how are you out there? Are you celebrating World Wetlands Day? Are you doing so by joining us? Oh, there goes a pintail. I don't know if you saw that flying over. Very cool. And let's see what's this direction. Love my questions. Thank you. Is this water directly connected to the Tijuana River or coming out of the inlet near the mouth? So very good. Yes, so this water here, this tidal linkage, this channel, is filling up, and because of the high tide occurring on our coast, high tide's at noon today. It takes a while for the tide to reach this far back at the north end of the reserve from the river mouth. If you haven't been here before, the river mouth, if I was to walk there from here, it would probably take me an hour. And really that's kind of the only way you can get there. You can drive to the end of Seacoast and then walk to the mouth. It takes you at least 20 minutes. So the water has a ways to travel, but it does, and it fills this channel that we call the tidal linkage, which is actually a saltmarsh restoration. However, the river does come, creates that mouth, and it's the river mouth. So to say that the river, fresh water from the river would reach this specifically, may not. It's quite a distance, but the water really is tidal, coming from the ocean. However, there's a lot of areas where fresh water runs in to this area of the salt marsh from the streets in the city of Imperial Beach. So I'm just seeing some more American coots back there, which are a lot like a chicken, a black head, dark body, white beak. I live near Mission Bay. They're all over Mission Bay. They're vegetarians. They eat a lot of grass. They poop a lot of grass. And they walk fairly well, so they have more web-like toes, so they can swim and walk. So we see them swimming, but we see them walking a lot as well. Who's going to join us at 2 o'clock today for the World Wetlands Day program, Wild About Wetlands? I hope you'll have opportunities to ask questions. You'll visit some wetlands along the coast. Let's see. There's our ruddies. I see them. I'm trying to move slowly. Fortunately, there's no zoom option. Any other questions? Oh, there's our little grebe popping up. Any other questions? How many of you have a wetland near you? Depending on where you're joining us from today, could be a freshwater wetland. Wetlands aren't always on the coast. A lot of inland wetlands, any place where land is wet. Probably some vernal pools occurring this time of year. One of the questions about sewage. So the Tijuana Estuary is involved with studying this ecosystem, how the system is working, what are the species here, is this the largest estuary in the state? Very good. It is one of the largest coastal wetlands in Southern California. I don't know what the largest one is in the state. That's a great question. And I'll be also talking about the Estuarine Research Reserve system that we're part of at the 2 o'clock program. And we're definitely not the largest in that program, that system of reserves. So, good question. But we are one of the largest in Southern California. There they are. I don't know if you guys can see those little ruddies. Remember about ruddy ducks? They're great at swimming. They've got that tail turned up they can use. As like a rudder too when they land. All right, helicopters seem to be dying down. can see again the plant vegetation in the marsh not looking so great right now. I see a lot of horn snails. Maybe we'll do a program on horn snails at some point. I see a lot of them. However, they're way too small for me to show you, to even point out. So there is a little exposed mud in this area of salt marsh just below. Okay. And mostly on this side of the channel, we've got pickleweed. We've got mostly pickleweed. As we move up from the lower elevation, I'm going to pan around so you can see. Oh, thank you. You can get that. It probably sounds right. San Francisco Bay is so large. All right, so you can see I'm standing on this little bit of area just above the high marsh on an area that looks like a trail. This is how we get out here to do restoration. This tidal linkage, when it was created, it was an area to come out here and do the studying and planting. So you can see with just a little bit of elevation change, the habitat type changes to a coastal sage scrub. And just below me, the plants get even kind of less tall. In the high salt marsh, we're seeing a lot of this what we call salt grass. It's a very pokey kind of salt marsh plant. And we'll do that. We'll get this when the salt marsh is looking a little more green, which would be in the spring. We'll revisit these salt marsh plants up close and personal. Let's see. I see a question: is most of the ground cover native, replaced by invasive? That's a good question. So in a salt marsh, because it's a challenging place to live, a lot of the plants are native. They are the salt marsh plants that have evolved and have a very specific role in the ecosystem and have a unique adaptation to living in such a high saline, salty environment. But when you get a little bit out of the salt marsh, the upland, coastal sage scrub, you do get into species that have been introduced, along with those that are kind of ecologically important, or as we call native. And this area was not always protected, and so the area was disturbed, and we've done a lot of revegetating, restoring habitat to what is more ecologically preferred, also called native. But there are several non-native species that with areas of disturbance can get out of control and be nothing but that species, and so it's challenging. And this is the area where I am is actually one of those restoration sites, and we've had volunteers come and help us. We've actually had restoration company come in and help us with it as well. So it was something that we did, we contracted as well, not just doing some restoration in-house. But there we go. All right, well, not much else has shown up. I was hoping for a little more activity today, but ooh, I hear rails though. I hear Ridgeway rails in the distance. All right, well, there's a small sampling of the salt marsh, the tidal linkage. What we call the tidal linkage, the salt marsh, probably closest to the visitor center, accessible from a nearby trail, not where I'm standing, but on the other side, and from the bridge as well. Not a lot of wetlands have a bridge that directly goes over the channel, so I don't know if you guys can see that there. All right, so this Oops, there we go. Thank you all. Thank you for your patience as I thought I'd just do this free flow. I was hoping for a little more activity out here, and of course not quite as a lush looking salt marsh as we might see in the spring, but really this is kind of the advertisement for the program happening at 2, which I hope you all have a chance to tune in and see. If not, don't worry. You know, one beauty about all these live streams is that they're recorded, so you can always watch them later, comment later, go back and ask your questions, and I always like to do my best to go back and answer them for you. So thank you again for joining me today for Lunchtime Live. Always a pleasure, and I hope to see you guys. Well, I won't see you, but I hope to know that you're on for the 2 o'clock program today. So thanks everyone. We'll see you next week for Lunchtime Live. Bye.